Okay, thank you one and all for joining us today on Time Space Visualiser. You know that the theme is girl power. Now, this next interview is going to be a little less zig-a-zig-ah and more sword fighting and Nitro 9 as I welcome the wonderful Brigadier Winifred Bambera and Dorothy Ace McShane. That is Angela Bruce and Sophie Aldred. Hello, both of you. How are you doing? How are we doing?
Very well. Really bizarre to be meeting you under these circumstances. As you say, the last time we met was in Bristol and we were able to hug everybody. So it's very strange, but lovely to see you.
It is lovely to see you as well. Really gorgeous.
Good to have you both on board. I mean, today's theme, you're perfect for this because you worked together on Doctor Who in Battlefield. It was one story, 4 episodes, all those years ago, and yet it really has stuck around. You know, I won't soft soap it. It wasn't a favourite at the time, I think, but with a lot of I think Sylvester's time, it's really come to be deeply loved, and you can see why. I mean, it's just come out on this beautiful Blu-ray, the Blu-ray box set, which is wonderful, and now it looks better than ever. What was it when you read that script? What immediately sort of appealed to you about that? I mean, Angela, if you could sort of, what did you think when you first saw it?
Well, first of all, it was the action thing of actually finding, playing a brigadier. What's the opportunity to play something so immense and to follow in the footsteps of all gone by, Nicholas and everyone like that. And so it was good for me. It's kind of one of those things where, because I watched it since a child, to actually be involved in it was a bit sort of, oh my God, really? You're going to let me play? Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's just a joy to just play in something like that. And actually to meet the people who I was working with. I mean, there was Sophie and there was Jean Marsh and there was James Ellis and all those people. And you just thought, wow, this is going to be absolutely incredible.
Wonderful. And Sophie, what were your initial impressions? Obviously, you'd been with the program for a little while by then. What were your impressions when you saw this particular script?
Well, I can't really remember, to be honest, because by then, of course, it was I'd caught sort of Sylvester's disease of like, you're slightly on a treadmill by then, you know, and we'd just finished filming Curse of Fenric, I think, and I remember reading the script and thinking, great, this is Ben Aronovich again, who'd done Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yes, of course.
And what really struck me, of course, was the 2 brigadiers. You know, not only was I going to get to work with Nicholas Courtney, who was my brigadier from my childhood, just like you said, Angela, but Angela Bruce from Angels, you know, iconic figure, and playing, and great, another really strong female part.
Yeah.
Marsh, again, another strong female character, really, really great. And the sort of whole Arthurian legend type thing. And I've always been I love those, you know, the T.H. White books, The Once and Future King. I don't know if you've not read those, anybody, then that's your job for the next few days, is to read The Once and Future King. So I've always loved the Arthurian myth. And so for me, this was great. And the idea that maybe Sylvester's Doctor is Merlin, you know, how fantastic is that?
Yeah.
It is. It's a lovely conceit. And I mean, and like you said, you were mentioning some of the other people you got to play with, not least of which, obviously, Angela. But it lent in quite hard and unapologetically so, which is great, on that female side of things. Like you say, you mentioned Jean Marsh, Angela Douglas. You had June Bland giving that beautiful, quite understated, heartfelt performance as Elizabeth, who was worked in the bar alongside her husband. Ling Tay obviously played quite heavily alongside yourself, Sophie. Did you feel that kind of female camaraderie, do you think, within the production itself?
No, we didn't speak. We didn't get on. We sat, you know, the furthest away we could in the rehearsal. Because, you know, Sophie Aldred, with all due respect, she stinks. Her perfume is in, you just can't be there. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that's just between you and me. I hope no one else is listening to this. Oh,
no.
Put it on. But no, honestly, just joking. Joking aside, it was wonderful actually to see, well, to watch Sophie work, and for her, because at the time she was the only one doing all the action-packed part of the scenes, you know, and fighting and doing all the physical stuff. And so it was really good to watch, to actually enjoy, to see Sophie actually getting up off her bum. And Jean be so threatening. It was so funny to watch Jean go from character, because I was used to her upstairs, downstairs, and here she was being this really frightening, threatening character, this, you know, amazing wizard type character, and trying to take her seriously, which is, I've always said to people, thank God we had the rehearsal, because that allowed us to stop laughing.
Yes.
You know, a week and a half to stop laughing when somebody else suddenly was going into this bizarre performance, like Marcus, watching him go into, oh, madam, and all that sort of just hysterical. So it was lovely to watch that, to watch strong women. I mean, Angela Douglas, was it Angela Douglas, Sophie, who was in that as well?
Yeah, Angela Douglas, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Well, it's funny, though, that you say that about the female camaraderie, because really, I don't think there was much distinction between male and female. It was, what was brilliant about working with Sylvester was that there was everyone was treated exactly the same, you know, man, woman, child, dog. It just like, you know, so camaraderie there was, whether it was female or not. I mean, we had a laugh, did we not? Miss
we did.
Miss Douglas?
Yeah.
Wrong Angela. Ms. Bruce, I had was.
You all look alike to Sophie. Honestly, all Angelas look alike. What can I say? There's the proof.
Are you going to tell the story about your bed?
There's no choice. Please tell the story about your bed, Angela.
Oh, in the hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, it was a strange situation occurred where for the second week in Rutland, there was some other convention or something was going on there, and a few of us had to change hotels. And so I booked into this, you know, the BBC, they wanted to put you some sort of Trust House 40 or something, something unbelievable. And so I booked this fantastic hotel with this fantastic, was it a 4-poster, Sophie?
It was a 4-poster.
Yeah. And so I booked it. So I was going on during the day, I was mentioning a few items and how huge this bedroom was, and this area that I had with this beautiful view out this window. And so obviously Sylvester and Sophie invited themselves for tea. And of course. So they came over, and it was just a bizarre moment. This is what I remember is at one point, it was absolutely hysterical. But at one point, I actually was taking a picture of Sophie and Sylvester in my wardrobe. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And we had a bounce on your bed.
You did? Well, yes, of course you did. But I didn't know if you wanted to go that far.
In the most innocent sense of the word.
Sophie, did you find that often when you're on location? Because it's a world, it's kind of a world apart, isn't it? It's its own little thing. And as time went on, I think you got more and more location work. Was that something you actively enjoyed?
Oh, I absolutely love working on location. Really love it. It's sort of like you're right. It takes you out of your own life in a way, and there's this sort of happy, wonderful time where you're all together, crew as well. Don't forget the crew, because in our day, and I believe it's the same now, but cast and crew melded really, which was so nice. So there were people who'd worked on the 2 seasons that you know, the season and the bit that I'd done before. So you all know each other really well. And of course, I mean, although Angela is frighteningly shy and terribly unsociable, we managed to bring her out of her shell somehow. And you know, and really invited her to really sort of join in with the rest of us.
I learned to laugh. I came out. It's true. It's absolutely true. Because I used to do the sweetie run at about, 5 o'clock in the morning. Before we went to location, we'd go to this one little newsagent where they had loads of sweeties, those bag pick and mix. I used to get the whole bag so we could hang it on the camera so everybody, crew and actors, could help themselves during the day. It's great.
I imagine that makes you quite popular on set.
I bought friends, yes. And what are you trying to say?
I didn't want to imply such a thing. How did you find it joining a well-established team like Sophie and Sylvester?
Well, you have to get it. I mean, apart from the fact they're very welcoming, apart from what I've mentioned about the perfume Sophie used to insist on wearing in rehearsals. But it was the thing of, because of the Acton, I'd worked at what we call the Acton Hilton, the rehearsal rooms at the BBC in North Acton. And I'd actually worked the floor up doing Angels. So I was only one floor. There was very little difference. You're just walking down another floor. So it's not as if you're getting used to the building. It's a different layout and a different cast. And I don't know, I find it exciting. And as Sophie says, the whole joy of everyone going out then on tour, it's like you go out, you end up out on location, you're naked. You can't actually, there's nothing you can grab hold of that's familiar. You have to let go, you have to join in. You want to join in, but it means that you don't, I don't think then there was mobiles, were there, Sophie? And so you just gave in, and you were just, as you say, from breakfast right through to supper to, going to the bar for a drink before everyone went to sleep. And then, you were mixing in, you were so involved. I do remember a member of the crew who'd been on location. I think he'd been filming far too long. And he did one day say to me, as it was, the sun was just coming up, and we were looking across the valley at a herd of sheep. And he said to me, oh, do you think that sheep with the really long eyelashes, do you think that one's attractive to you? And I went, oh, we've been on location too long.
Yeah, that's when you know it's probably time to head home, isn't it?
Time to head home.
some sense of normality. Sophie, what was that like? That kind of, I'm trying to sort of imagine it from your point of view as a regular who loved going away almost on tour for these locations, and then you're kind of coming back to reality. It must be quite a split between those two things.
Well, I remember that I think there was a strike going on at the same time, so we had to we were kind of never quite sure whether we were needed, and then we got to go back up to Rutland, because we did 2 bits in Rutland. Water. So it is quite strange. But you see, the thing is, as an actor, that's what you're used to. You're used to making friends very closely for a very short period of time, and some of them you never see them again.
Well, hopefully.
I really set myself up there, didn't I? I mean,
I was going to say, whether you wanted to or not, Doctor Who is the gift that keeps on giving. You will keep seeing each other for the rest of your lives. So, think on that one. But we're very, very fortunate with conventions, and thanks to people like you and everybody watching, and that we have these long-term friendships that that just, as you say, the gift that keeps on giving, and it really is. It's unusual, isn't it, Angela, to have this contact for such a number of years?
Absolutely. I mean, there's people like Marcus, who I did a Zoom call with recently, some recording or other, for God knows what. I've done so many. But Wendy Padbury, who I'd never known before, who was in a Doctor Who we've now became close, insulting friends. We insult each other constantly by text. So there's certain people that I would not have connected to. A lot of them are connected to Doctor who I keep in touch with. Regardless of what they say, they do like me.
Who could not like you?
Sophie, you touched on the kind of the wider the viewership that we have, and the wider kind of lovely Doctor Who fandom that exists. And actually, we're very lucky in that we're able to speak to a wider audience in these slightly unusual times by taking conventions online, which means there'll be some people who have never met you in real life, who have never heard some of the stories. So I know for them, it would be utterly remiss of me not to ask you about the water tank incident on Battlefield.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Well, the BBC were always trying to kill me off, really weirdly. That wasn't the worst accident I had. I'd done a kids show where they tried to hang me from a flying wire. So yeah, just all in a day's work, really. So I remember we were in the studio. It was real rush towards the end of the day. Were you there, Angela?
Yeah, I just finished my scene. I got into makeup to take my makeup off, and I was watching you on the monitor. I've never seen it.
Yeah. So, and there was a bit of a panic because they knew they had to get this water tank scene in before the clock struck 10, because then it's, you know, time is money in those days. And the crew would like put down their tools. So I remember somebody said, the floor manager said to me, Sophie, go and get yourself ready to get in the tank. And I said, but hang on a minute, I'm in this scene. So, you know, it had gone a bit mad by then. You know, did my close up or whatever, made sure I got that in, for goodness sake. And then whizzed over to the other side of the studio where this tank had been sitting all day, climbed up the ladder at the out of it, and then was lowered slowly by the visual effects guys who were on top, and they started pumping water in. Luckily, for once, it was warm. So it was actually... Usually they chuck me into cold water, but this time it was warm. So it started slowly filling up. And then the noise of the water meant that I couldn't hear anything that was going on. So Sylvester stood outside. He realised that I couldn't hear, and he was, you know, doing hand signals and stuff. The director, Michael Kerrigan, came down from the gallery because he realised like he'd have to direct from the floor. And we started to get some shots, and, you know, it was me basically, Doctor. I was so excited because how brilliant having an end of episode, you know, water rising.
Absolutely. A great cliffhanger. Yeah.
Dream, you know, and then, woo! Anyway, there I was. And I was kind of moving about a bit, you know, and like, Doctor, like this. And they took the shots of Sylvester, and then I was just floating by this time. My jacket was all full of air, floating on the water, and I put my hands in front of me to steady myself like this, and I felt this kind of under my hands, and I don't know why, but I must have instinctively realised there was something wrong. So I just put my hands like this, and if it hadn't been for Sylvester, who basically became a real superhero in that moment. I mean, you can see it on the outtakes, you know, the video. Quick as a flash, he just shouts at the top of his voice, which is not inconsiderable, shouts, "Get her out of there!" And the visual effects guys grabbed my hands and pulled me up like this. And as they pulled me up, it was extraordinary because I could see everything stopped, you know, and I could see people's mouths like hanging open like this. And the front of this tank started bowing. And then suddenly there was just a, and the water and the glass in which I would have been. Gaded through onto the studio floor, at which point Sylvester shouts, because he realizes that water and electricity from the cables and the cameras and the lights and everything don't mix very well. So he again shouted out, "Turn off the electricity!" And somebody turned off the main switch. People just scarpered. I don't know. And that was, and I mean, it was a weird feeling because it was like, oh, well, you know, nothing happened. And it really didn't occur to me until many years later when I was watching a movie called The Prestige, which is a great film about magic. And in the very sort of in the first scene or so, there's a tank of water, and the assistant is put in with ropes around her hand, and she has to try and do a Houdini out of these ropes. And she doesn't, and they come and they smash this tank with axes, and the water all like this. And I'm sitting there in the cinema, and my whole body, I just start shaking like this. It was extraordinary. And I think it was probably delayed shock.
Yeah.
Good grief, by that long. I mean, but what, you can completely understand that. That's a really, it's an unusual situation to be in, but really quite scarring. I mean, I'm not surprised it stayed with you.
Yeah, but not consciously. That's what's so weird, you know, because I thought it was fine. In fact, we started filming. We were down in the Warmwell Quarry a couple of weeks later, filming. What would it have been? Survival. And somebody brought the News of the World, and it said Doctor Who girl cheats death. And and suddenly there's my agent and my dad ringing the mobile phone in the OB van saying, "Is she all right? What's happened?" Because of course I hadn't bothered to tell anyone, because it was so like, oh, that's yesterday, you know. So my body held on to this shock for that length of time. Extraordinary.
Yeah,
that really, really is. But we are very, very grateful to Sylvester for managing to do what he did and saving you in that way. Angela, any similar death-defying feats when you were on Doctor Who?
No.
No.
Let me think. No.
I'm very pleased to hear it.
Yes, no, I did see Sophie do it. I watched that all on the monitor. It was fascinating for me. I just thought to myself, I wish I'd been filming it. But no, I didn't have anything. I didn't. There was nothing. I did a sword scene which I rehearsed faithfully with Al Joint, and because we didn't have a broadsword for me to practice with in the rehearsal room, I used a Bic pen, as you do.
Ideal. I mean, it's a perfect substitute.
Do you know, I don't know why they thought I couldn't do it. And, you know, just practiced that, and then suddenly I had a broadsword, and yeah. But no, there was nothing. There wasn't, I don't think there's ever anything life-threatening, apart from it was a joy when we had to do the scene of driving, when I'm suddenly with Anselin in the car, and suddenly I've got to do these little stunts of driving round bends where there's explosions and, you know, sort of shooting through the roof of the car,
of course,
dropping down. But that, darling, I do that every day when I go shopping, or not.
Well, I was going to say, how much of the stunt work, because like you say, you mentioned the sword fighting, but there's guns, there's the stunt driving. How much of it did you do yourself then, Angela?
Well, we did it all. We did it all. You know, I mean, there wasn't anything. I mean, even the little improvised fight scene that we did while Sophie and the doctor walked past us, totally ignoring us, chatting, and we're fighting in the background. We just did it they said, okay, do some wrestling or something in the background. We just improvised it. Unfortunately, you can't see us laughing, but I mean, we just tumbled in, and, you know, I could tell by the way he presented himself, I could kick it, throw him off, and, you know, it was fun. There was nothing that we couldn't do, was there, Sophie, as far as I could tell on that particular batch of
I remember I had to take a course of antibiotics to go in the lake.
Oh yeah,
because they were worried about Weil's disease, and that was weird doing the lake one, because I had a little wetsuit on underneath the costume, but of course what I hadn't bargained for, that was under the water you can't really tell which way is up. So the first couple of times I did it, I think you were watching, Angela, I think the first couple of times the sword came out like it was quite hard to get it going straight up, if you know what I mean.
Oh, crikey, can we avoid things like that? My interview with Katie Manning was full of it. I'm going to get a reputation. I'm going to get a reputation.
Well, I can tell you that because I had to have a mic as well, because I can't remember why. I don't think I had a line or anything, but they gave me a mic anyway, and it was encased in a condom. That was the best thing for that.
Oh yeah,
Brilliant.
that's what they say.
Practice safe microphone technique. That's the thing. Overall, it comes across as a really joyous romp, actually, and it sounds like you all had quite a bit of fun doing it. How long are we talking? How long were you on location? You said you had to go actually return to the location.
Yeah, I think we had like 4 days or something initially, 4 or 5 maybe, I'm not sure, and then back for another block of rehearsals and then another few days. But it never, I mean, it's so vivid for me still. The days are long and you remember every moment. So if somebody had told me it was 2 weeks, I would have said yes. And if somebody had told me it was 4 days, I'd have said yes. So I can't. Can you remember, Angela?
I can't remember. When we did a little video thing together and took me up to the Rutlands. I couldn't remember. I was amazed how much you remembered. But all I do is remember Sylvester constantly picking me up to take me up there, because he used to drive me up. I used to catch a lift in his car. And so I just remember going up and down, but I think we stayed 1 weekend or something up there.
Yeah, I think we did stay extra because we were having such a good time.
Yeah, we deliberately messed up, so they had to let us stay there more. But it was fantastic weather as well, wasn't it?
It was beautiful, yeah. And a beautiful location as well.
Yeah.
Really
Stunning.
the world.
Stunning, yeah.
So you're obviously very well aware that Doctor Who still continues to this very day. Angela, if offered the part of the Brigadier to return, would you go back?
Oh, absolutely, without hesitation.
What a great idea!
It would be great if Ben wrote it, though, because he knows me so well. He's so good. He's far too busy now, but I mean, he just sort of. He sort of got me as well. He got the spirit of, that shyness you were talking about.
Yeah.
Sophie, that sort of inward sort of thoughtful.
Thoughtful, sensitive, thoughtful.
Sensitive. That's what he got. He managed to get in that character. But yes, I would take that in a blink of an eye.
Whereabouts do you think she'd be now? Would she still be military? Do you think she would have stuck with that?
I think, I imagine her just a bit like, Spooks or something. She's sort of in the background, supposed to be retired, but isn't. So somebody who they consult, who can't resist getting involved, but doesn't wear the uniform, but everything about her still has some sort of uniform about it. She loves that. But I hope that she doesn't shout as much as I did. Calm down in that sense, yeah.
I love the fact you even had a catchphrase as well. Shame.
Oh, that's right. Oh, shame, yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I like that. I'd love to see her back. Sophie, I strongly suspect I know if I were to ask you the same question. I know your answer very well, because you have now written that wonderful book in which Ace meets the 13th Doctor. Have you enjoyed that whole experience?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, to put in everything that I've been thinking about, because like with Big Finish, the audio adventures, Ace has had so many different like parallel lives, really. I think Ace has died about 3 or 4 times in various media, and then gone off and done this and that and back and forth. So actually to sort of explain how that happened was brilliant. And then to just like, I was so chuffed to be able to marry Ace now, Dorothy, with a new Doctor, a female Doctor as well. It was just brilliant. What a gift.
Yeah.
That's good, really good. And I know it's been incredibly popular. People are raving about it, so that is good. Might there be another on the horizon?
Well, I don't know. It's never up to me. It's all in the hands of the BBC. Yeah.
I think what I'd like to see, from my own slightly selfish personal point of view, I'd love to see the two of you together in maybe a Big Finish, something like that, but a little spin-off Big Finish with Ace and the Brigadier, I think would be cracking.
Oh yes, wouldn't that be good? Listening, Nick Briggs, what a great idea.
Yeah, that would be good. Yes, let's push for that then. Push for that.
I think that pairing would work really beautifully.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yeah.
And both. Go on, Sophie. Sorry.
No, I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, you're in. Oh, good. That's fine. I mean, I have absolutely no say whatsoever. But yeah, Nick, if you're listening, we want that. I'd be there in a heartbeat. It sounds just what I'd love to see. Well, I have to say, we are coming to the end of our time together. But it has been absolutely wonderful to talk to you both. I do hope you both stay well and safe in these odd times, and that there will eventually come a time when we can all get together again. There's one last thing I do need to say. Now, Sophie, I know that when you were filming Ghostlight, you sneaked into the Top of the Pop studios, am I right?
Yes. Well, we did. We both did. And what were you going to say?
Well, that particular episode of Top of the Pops that you sneaked into was repeated 2 weeks ago. And we have confirmed that you can be spotted in the episode dancing to Bros.
You know, it's because Sylvester and I were hanging around in the studio getting ready to do a scene, and it was going to be a long time. And the floor assistant who'd been working on Top of the Pops as well said, "Oh, they're doing Top of the Pops next door," and we were like, "Let's go!" And we were both in costume. Now, I remember Sylvester was definitely there, but I think because he was so recognisable in his costume, he may have hung back. But I got right in there. And now I wasn't a huge Bros fan, but I just was really taken with the whole idea of having somebody secretly there, you know.
Yes.
And it's funny because I did actually watch it because somebody tipped me off that it was repeated again. Couldn't see myself at all, and then some incredible person, I mean, you're so amazing, you guys, have found the bit, and there I am, sure enough. You can see the kind of the French plait down the back and the Victorian men's suit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that has been a lovely little extra glimpse into your time on Doctor Who that's just popped up again, you know, after all these years a couple of weeks ago. And it's another memory of all these memories that we get to share, and we're incredibly lucky to be able to speak to all and everyone that's involved with this, but I've been incredibly lucky today. So I'd like to say a huge thank you, and I know that there will be a virtual round of applause at home for Angela Bruce and Sophie Aldred. Thank you both. Thank you both very much.
thank you very much.
Absolutely lovely. And Sophie, love you.
Mwah, love you too.
Stay safe, Andy. Stay safe. Lovely to talk to you.
Take care. Lots of love.
Lots of love. Bye.